Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to our coffee times to talk about horror. And I do come today to you with another movie review because last weekend I went to see I Know What You Did Last Summer, the new movie that is supposed to be a sequel slash reboot of the franchise. So I went, I watched it, and I have thoughts. So sit down and enjoy. This is going to be a spoiler-free review. I'm going to talk a little bit about the franchise and then we're going to get into the spoiler-free movie review. So hopefully you guys enjoy.
It's coffee time.
I Know What You Did Last Summer is an American franchise and it has at the moment 4 movies and a TV show, and they are all based in Louis Duncan's book that was released in 1973. However, Louis Duncan's book, which I have read, is a lot more of a slow burn, more of a mystery, and less of a slasher, but they changed a lot from the book. In the book, we are in the fictional town of Silver Springs and we follow the character Julie James as she receives a note that tells her, "I know what you did last summer." The previous summer, Julie, her boyfriend Ray, Barry, and Barry's girlfriend and also Julie's best friend Helen were partying, driving in the mountains. And they accidentally ran over somebody. And it's very interesting because in the book, it is not an adult. In the book, they ran over a kid, which makes the whole thing a lot more tragic. In 1997, we got the first adaptation from this novel, which did change a lot of things, but it did respect at least the names of the characters, which I appreciated, and a lot of the details, even though things were twisted, to kind of turn it more into a slasher, which I'm also totally on board for that. As you guys know, I love some blood, some gore, and some slashing. The cast was also amazing. We had Sarah Michelle Gellar, we had Jennifer Love Hewitt, we had Ryan Phillips, and Freddie Prinze Jr. The first film is loosely based on the novel and it follows these 4 teenagers as they are being targeted by a killer using a hook and wearing a slicker from like this fishermen that work in Southport. And this person is targeting them because 1 year ago they ran over somebody, they didn't call the police, and they pretended that it never happened and kept it a secret. That is like the ground, the base, that's how all of the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies and the TV show start. There's always something that happens, there is a secret, and then we fast forward a year ahead, somebody knows the secret and it's coming for them. But apart from drawing inspiration from this book, it also gets inspiration from the urban legend of the Hook and also from movies like Prom Night. The movie was fairly successful and even today there's a lot of cult following, and it did get a sequel just the year after. In 1998, we got I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. This movie takes place 1 year after the first movie, and our main character is Julie here as well, and she wins a vacation to the Bahamas and decides to take her best friend with her and a couple of friends. So they're all very excited because, you know, they're young, they're gonna spend couple of weeks in the Bahamas, and when they get there, obviously they realize that something has followed them, and that is the Hookman. This movie was very different from the first one because it had a completely different look. We were in a different location, which I didn't mind because it brought up new opportunities, new characters, and the only thing that is different is obviously you don't have the same secret thing happening at the beginning. The secret is the same one that we had in the first movie, basically. It was just unresolved, you know, so the killer is coming back for more. After the second movie, there was a big break and we didn't get any more movies. However, in 2006, we did get a movie that was direct to video and it was called I Will Always Know What You Did Last Summer. This is not, I mean, officially canon in the sense that it doesn't really follow the same characters, but the characters are aware of the killings of 1997. It's also based in the same town and it is kind of the same universe, but it's not a direct sequel to the other two. We follow several teenagers that on the 9th to 4th of July, they kind of cover up a death of a friend and they know what actually happened, but they never told the police. It was a prank that went wrong and they're afraid that they're going to be charged with murder, so they decide to keep quiet, and obviously 1 year later they receive a note saying that, I know what you did last summer, so they're being targeted now by a killer. So in all the movies, basically the 4th of July is the date where the accident happens, and then a year later again, kind of towards the 4th of July, that's when people start dying, and then the kind of like last kills happen always in the night of the 4th of July. Now this movie is not good. I did rewatch all 3 movies in preparation for the new one, just to see, what kind of Easter eggs we would get and all of that. And this one was hard to sit through and watch and complete. I don't think this is a movie that I would like rewatch willingly all the time, but sometimes you have to sacrifice. And I decided to give it a watch because I wanted to comprehend the whole franchise before I went into the new one. But I would say, you can skip this one if you don't want to watch it because it's not great. And then we have I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was a TV show that was released in Amazon Prime, also loosely based on the novel by Lewis Duncan. And this one tried to take a different approach, so kind of like The Accident and The Secret is a little bit different. They tried to bring something fresh, like a new twist to the story, so I did appreciate that, but it was also a little bit underwhelming. I do recommend to watch it though if you haven't, because I think it's still worth one watch. And now it's time to talk about I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025, and I'm gonna need some coffee for that because it's rough, you guys. It's rough. It's also raining today, which I think is very fitting because it's a sad day today. So the new movie, it is the 4th installment in the franchise, but it is a direct sequel to I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, so it only follows up after 1 and 2. The 3rd one doesn't count in this case, which I understand because it was a standalone sequel and also doesn't follow the same characters, so it was not needed. So yeah, it is a direct sequel to the 2nd movie. The film offers us a brand new cast of teenagers, which it is the right thing to do when you are rebooting a franchise, but they also wanted to think about the people that loved the first movie, and they did decide to bring back 2 of the OGs. We have Jennifer Love Hewitt and we have Freddie Prinze Jr. reprising their roles as Julie and Ray. When 5 friends inadvertently cause a deadly car accident, they cover up their involvement and make a pact to keep it a secret rather than face the consequences. 1 year later, the past comes back to haunt them as they learn someone knows what they did last summer. Stalked by a mysterious killer, they soon seek help from 2 survivors of the legendary Southport massacre of 1997. The young cast that they chose for this movie kind of mimics the original cast that we have. We have the beauty queen and the pretty boyfriend, like we had Helen and Barry in the first movie. We have the more kind of sensible, the more responsible girly, that it is kind of the version of Julie. And obviously we have also the guy that has a crush on this girl that could be potentially the new Ray. Even the way that he was dressed, I could see that they were going for Ray 2.0, you know what I mean? However, the characters were a little bit over the top. I feel like they took certain traits of the characters and then they put them on steroids. Like, it was just over-exaggerated and it kind of almost felt too comedic for this movie. The exaggeration of the characters and the whole thing just makes this movie so silly and cheesy, and sometimes it's hard to take it seriously. Like, the dialogue is a lot more cringe and dumb than it should be. Like, I get it, we're talking here about rebooting a 90s slasher, and back in the day also the dialogue was maybe not the best, and of course it had its cheesy moments, but the movie from the 97 was a serious movie. You could feel the tension, the suspense, and bringing these over-exaggerated characters in the new movie with the new cast is not helping. I think this comedy just had such a bad influence on the suspense and the tension. It kind of just killed it for me. The 2 characters that everybody wanted to see, let's be honest, is Ray and Julie coming back and see how they are, what are they doing right now with their lives so many years later. But unfortunately, even though I really, really loved to see them back, I was really excited to see them and it was nice to see them back on the screen, I didn't like all the ways that they utilized these characters. You can tell that this movie is trying really hard to do what Scream did by rebooting the franchise, but unfortunately in this case they did not give us any main character that it was a character that you would root for, a character that you cared about, because they were just so silly that they just felt like, I don't know, it was just, you couldn't believe them really as characters, and that is a huge problem. My favorite characters from this movie were Julie, obviously. I really love to see where she is in her life right now after everything that she has been through. And funny enough, she commented something in the movie that I think the directors and creators of this movie should have taken into account, and that is that nostalgia is overrated. From the new cast, if I would have to pick someone, I would pick Teddy. I think he's the character that I enjoyed the most, but like I said, the new cast, sadly, I don't think it was up to the part. The pacing is sluggish for the majority of the film run. It was, you know, apart from the opening scene, the rest started to drag. Like, it was very repetitive when it comes to dialogues and things that were happening, and it was dragging. Like, they tried to save it later when Julie came around, but it was a little bit too late because I was already very disconnected. And even though we had so much dialogue and everything was moving very slow, they didn't give the characters enough depth. They didn't give us characters that we could care about, which is even worse. Honestly, when you see the new group of friends talking and interacting with each other, the dynamic is off. I didn't buy that these were friends, that they were besties. Like, I just didn't buy it. And again, it's a problem. And then they decided to bring Julie back, and it was a little bit later into the movie. It was kind of like an attempt to save it, I guess. But I think it came too late, and she was also not so much in the movie as I would have expected. Because obviously Julie is the main character in this franchise, so I was hoping that they would use her a little bit more because she wanted to come back obviously to the franchise, so why not use her more from the beginning to already keep the audience like happy, but you know, decisions were made. The problem with that was also that it felt a little bit forced. It felt like, okay, we've now been spending enough time with these characters, let's bring Julie, you know, let's try to bring her back, and then they don't even have time to really develop that subplot with her. So again, I don't know why, but decisions were made. You can tell, however, that they really wanted to bring back the original from 1997. They were desperate to bring back that feeling, but I don't think they did the right choice when it comes to the cast and the dialogues. But at least we got to see Southport again. There were many locations in the movie that you will recognize if you have seen the other films, and they did try to give us a lot of fan service in that regard. There is even a scene where a girl is trying to escape the killer, and it is 100% a scene taken from the first movie. Like, there is a lot of references to that, not just with bringing two of the original characters back, but also the setting, some of the killing scenes and all of that. And you know, it's nice to see, but when everything else around it is not delivering, it's hard to even get excited about it. One thing I was also expecting from this movie is for Julie to say, "What are you waiting for?" And you will see if it's in the movie or not, but it's something that I was like, if they're gonna try to bring back that feeling, that sentence need to be there. It's probably the sentence that people remember the most from this franchise. And I love it. I love that scene. I think it's crazy. Love it. And the first movie had tension, you know, something that this one didn't. Something we know from the trailer and from the synopsis is that the teenagers that are now being targeted by the killer decide to ask Julie for help because she has had to defeat the same kind of evil. So Ava goes to Julie to ask for help, and she says, "You have survived this once." And I was like, twice. Try that again. Twice. Because this is a sequel to part 2. So it means Julie has survived it twice. I was really upset about this. I don't know why nobody caught it. Maybe I'm being picky, but I was sitting in the cinema and I'm like, what do you mean once? My girl was the final girl twice. My girl had to fight 2 times. 2 times. And yeah, that upset me. I don't know. Might be picky, maybe because the rest was falling apart around me. And I was already in that kind of picky mood, but yeah. that didn't sit well with me. There is a small plotline involving Southport's gentrification and the erasure of its history, and you know, the 1997 killings weren't particularly good for the town's tourism, so this was like an afterthought or something, and it was just planted in there in a very weird way, and I thought it was just awkward. Like, I don't know, it was just like mentioned there in the middle of the movie, like there. I'm just gonna leave this here. I don't know, I felt like this movie was a combination of a lot of things that they wanted to put together, but it's things that they don't fit. So if the pieces don't fit and you just smash it in there, it's not gonna work. When it comes to the tone of the movie, there is a lot of humor. The problem is that the places where they put the humor doesn't land. It's not funny, it's not comedic, and sometimes the characters do like funny remarks in between killing scenes or when they're being chased, and it's just so frustrating because that just ruins the whole killing scene. It ruins the chase, it ruins everything. There's no tension, there is no suspense, and like I said, the comedy just is not timed right. When you have comedy and it's not the timing is so important in comedy, and they got it wrong. In a slasher movie, humor can work. You can see that with Scream, alright? But here, again, not working. No. I really appreciated the cinematography though. There are beautiful framed landscapes and all of that, but the cinematography alone cannot save a movie. The cinematography tried to bring so much atmosphere, but everything else didn't stand up. So unfortunately, even the scenes, like I said, the more gruesome kills or chase scenes, they had no atmosphere, and it's not because of the cinematography, it's because of the acting, because of the script, and because of the way they decided to place the killer. We'll talk about that. But perhaps the worst thing in this movie, you guys, is the ending. I'm not gonna tell you what happens, I'm not gonna explain anything about the ending, but when the reveal comes, you always know in these movies there's gonna be a time where the killer is revealed and you know who is behind the mask. It's, you know, standard in slashers. When the reveal comes, it's so frustrating. They have to rush it. It's almost like forced, and it kind of ruined the other movies for me. Like, it was just bad, okay? It was a bad ending, and I will never understand how somebody can enjoy this ending. Sorry if you did. I just don't understand how somebody could. It was like a desperate ending, and the movie didn't even like expand on the mythology of these movies. Like, it was just, I don't know, I like, again, decisions were made. The teenagers in this movie, when it comes to the horror, they kind of rely on every single horror trope, and they make a lot of mistakes. I know they're teenagers, but it's almost at times like they're asking to be killed. Like, they're just like waving a flag, like, "Hi, I'm here, just kill me." And again, the killing scenes were frustrating for me, if you cannot tell. I'm not saying that characters in slasher movies are the smartest or they make the best decisions. Like, I know they're a little bit stupid, but these ones were just dumb. And again, that comedy that they were trying to push through the scenes, that was too much for me. The tension and the suspense, as I've mentioned before, are completely gone out the window in this movie. Also because, listen, they tried to do jump scares, none of them landed. That is rough. That is really rough, because jump scares are probably the easiest way of getting your audience to have a reaction. None of them worked. None of them. And the problem is also that there was no build-up to the killing scenes. Like, there was no like really big chase and like tension there building to see what happens. Like, suddenly the killer was just there, like, frame he's not there, frame he's there, "Hi, how you doing?" Like, the killer just appeared out of the blue. No suspense of where is he coming from, no surprise, no nothing. They also did use some CGI in some scenes that kind of looked not the best. I don't really like when they use CGI for killing scenes and when it is for fake blood and stuff like that, because I mean, come on, fake blood and those type of kills is something you should be able to do practical. And it just, you know, I'm enjoying the kill and then I see clearly that blood is CGI, and then it takes me out of it. The kills in this movie feel very PG-13, which, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy PG-13 horror movies. I have nothing against that, but Again, I felt like the kills were just quick, easy, not really original. I think my favorite one was probably the first kill in the movie, and after that we just went downhill. Again, when it comes to the horror, nothing was delivered. The movie is really not scary. There's no tension or anything, so disappointment. Disappointment, it is what it is. Time to wrap this up. So in the end, I gave this movie a 2 out of 5. And you know, I just don't want to be too harsh, but I think this is fair. If you're going to reboot a franchise like this, be more like Scream. You know, I don't mind Scream 5 at all. I think they understood that people wanted to see the original characters come back. And they did a good job at bringing them back. However, they also did a good job at introducing a new cast and giving them space to shine and for the viewer to really connect with the characters, to care for them. We had strong leads in that movie, and I cared about those characters. Like, I was really rooting for them. I enjoy them a lot as main characters. I enjoy the sisters so much, and that's something that you need. You need to think that when you reboot a franchise, some of the audience that you're going to have is going to be young audiences that have never seen the previous movies. And so it is important that they're able to understand the movie without having to watch all the other movies before, and give them a new cast that they love, that they're interested in, so that they are hooked to this new reboot. When it comes to I Know What You Did Last Summer, they did nothing of that. Nothing. I think it's really hard to understand this movie if you have not seen the other ones before. The new cast was not memorable, was not something that you connect with, or characters that you root for. So I don't even know who this movie is for, because for people that love the original, like me, I love the original. Is it perfect? No, but I loved it. I would rewatch it anytime. I think it's a great slasher. But you know, this movie was also not really for me, because the majority of the movie is about the new characters, which I could care less about. The kills were not great. There was no suspense, and I don't like what they did with the original characters. So it's a no for me. New audiences are probably a little bit lost about the lore, because this movie doesn't really help with that. I think you have to watch the first movie to understand, and also the new cast is not great. So people are gonna watch this movie and forget about it. So this is not how you reboot a franchise. Basing your movie on nostalgia and having nothing else to back it up, that's not a smart move. It's not gonna work. Like, no tension, no exciting kills, a poor ending, stupid characters, like, it can't end well. Honestly, if you're a fan of the originals, I think you might like the nostalgia at times. It's nice to go back to Southport, it's nice to see Julie again and Ray again, but is it enough? I don't know, guys. So I will leave it up to you if you want to watch this one or not. If you are not familiar with the franchise, don't watch this movie, point blank. I don't think it's worth your time. I think it's only maybe worth your time if you really want to see the OG characters back on screen. But even then, I would tell you to wait until it's streamable somewhere. If you have to pay full price for a ticket, because I don't think it's worth it, guys. Also, before I forget, there is an end credit scene, so stay for that if you go to the cinema to watch it. And I don't want to discourage anybody to go to the cinema and watch this movie. If you want to go watch it, be my guest. But if you have to choose between different movies and you're on the fence, probably pick the other one. Because yeah, this one was a big disappointment. I kind of knew it was probably not gonna be what I wanted, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. And yeah, so that is it. Alright, you guys, so I hope that you enjoyed this spoiler-free review. I'm sorry it was not very positive, but this is just my honest, true feelings about the movie. If you have seen it, let me know down below what you thought. If you're a fan of the franchise, let me know your thoughts down below. And hopefully we can forget about this and move on. It's probably one of my biggest disappointments of 2025, so yay for that. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you all, as always, in our next coffee time. Bye!